This will be a review of the 1970s made-for-TV movie about a college fraternity. This movie was referenced in someone else's video I watched that was talking about secret societies. The movie is called Brotherhood of the Bell, and it's presently on YouTube for free. I'll post a link to it below. After watching it, I immediately thought this would be a good movie to study for new writers as it is about a secret society. But the plot line is not complicated or convoluted. The Brotherhood of the Bell was produced by Cinema Central 100 Productions and directed by Paul Wendkos. The underlying book and the screenplay was written by David Karp. He was both a novelist and a screenwriter. Here is an example of some of his novels. Many of them are no longer in print as they were originally published in the 1950s. The movie starred Glenn Ford as the main character and has several stars from the 1960s and 1970s. And if you were around in those years, you will recognize many of them. I'll start with a short summary of the movie without any spoilers. The lead character, Mr. Andrew Patterson, is played by Glenn Ford, who is a graduate of St. George University in San Francisco, California. While there, he joins a fraternity called the Brotherhood of the Bell. Like most graduates, Patterson graduates and goes on to marry and achieve continual success in his life thereafter. The movie opens with Patterson arriving at the college at sunrise 22 years after his own graduation because he has been summoned to attend the initiation of another young college student into the Brotherhood of the Bell. Like most successful businessmen, he's not used to having to get up on command early enough to arrive anywhere at sunrise. He mentions this to his so-called fraternity brother, but his superior, whose name is Chad Harmon, reminds him of the long line of tradition of having the initiations at sunrise. You get the impression that the boss of the fraternity is a by-the-book kind of guy. So you can tell through subtle eye and body movements that Patterson wants to roll his eyes, but the hierarchy of the old brotherhood makes him suppress any level of disapproval. These two men enter into a locked room that has a large bell at the center. Chad Harmon, the leader, initiates and presides over the usual ritual of initiating a new member. He reminds the new member that there may come a time that he may be asked to do something on behalf of his brothers in the bell, and he will be expected to do it. The new recruit is asked if he is willing and ready to be accepted, and he answers yes. After a little more formal but seemingly harmless ritual, the fraternity superiors, including Patterson, tear up the evidence of the meeting and throw it into a fire that has been prepared for the ceremony, and they all go back to their individual lives. However, one day, soon thereafter, Patterson is summoned by the Brotherhood to an unfamiliar home where he meets a man he never met, who gives him 2 envelopes with an assignment from the Brotherhood of the Bell. As he goes to open one of the envelopes, the stranger stops him and tells him that he can open the envelopes, but not for an hour after he leaves that house. He leaves, and in the next scene, we see that the Brotherhood wants him to do something that he really doesn't want to do, and he begins to question what is going on, why they would want him to do something like this. So suddenly, this small town college secret fraternity turns into a bit more than he ever thought it would be. And that's all I'll reveal so I don't ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. Now, the real star of this movie is the writer. From a fellow writer's perspective, this movie was all about plot and character development. As noted earlier, the author of the original book, as well as the screenplay, was David Karp. I wasn't able to find a picture of him on the internet, unfortunately. He lived from 1922 to 1999, and he passed away from emphysema at age 77. Movies written for TV back in the 1970s had to take into account that commercials would run every 15 to 20 minutes. So this script is a perfect example of how the writer kept to the point, used dialogue to fill in historical story elements, and he kept the action going. For newbie writers, this would be a good movie to take apart and analyze or diagram and see the main parts of the spine of a conspiracy plotline. So let's talk about who to watch in the movie. Glenn Ford, who plays the lead character, Andrew Patterson, he gets an A+ for his acting. He makes a full emotional and psychological character arc in the movie, and his acting is top-notch. Remember, he started off secretly scoffing at the secret society initiation ritual, but in very short order, his character arc begins to take form. There were a lot of close-ups, and his emotions slowly went from first gear all the way through to fourth gear. We as authors can learn a lot about his facial expressions while he emoted all of the various feelings as well as his body movements. There are times when he is cool as a cucumber, and then other times he is so frantic he seems on the edge of losing his mind. Dean Jagger, the actor who played the head boss, Chad Harmon, he plays a sociopath. Now, sociopaths don't have a character arc, so to speak, as they are always mean and always untrustworthy. But he has an edge and a viciousness that comes out in his facial looks, his posturing, and his movements. Watch how he uses hesitation and a deadpan expression to intimidate Patterson. And the other actor to watch is William Conrad, who I believe had a show of his own called Cannon, also in the 1970s. He plays a talk show host named Bart Harris, who is a cross between Phil Donahue and Maury Povich. I'm not sure if his sweating in the movie was real, but it worked in the scenes he was in. His acting was also A+. A writer can learn about the presentation of a media figure from this movie. His scenes show how you can use the scene location, the background, and props to tell a full story that doesn't need any words. Now, I want to give an honorable mention to Rosemary Forsyth, who plays Patterson's wife and a rich man's daughter. I know women who play just wives are not popular with younger women today, but I grew up with these homemakers and family women, so I liked her character very much. Her role was very limited, but she had a full character arc, and her acting was also top-notch. So let's talk about the atmosphere and the sets. The atmosphere in the beginning sets the mood of the movie to dark and a bit sinister, but it's very subtle. The entire movie is not in the dark like traditional Gothic horror movies. The mansion rooms of the wealthy, the offices and foyers where some of the action takes place, are all large and beautifully decorated. The camera pans the sets and gives the viewer a good look at everything in the scene, so kudos to some of the camera work in this movie too. What else can a writer learn? There was enough action in the movie to teach a writer how to keep the action going and how to add stress and pressure into the plot line as the story moves forward. This was a modern-day psychological horror movie, but it also had elements of an action movie too. As I watched this movie, I could tell that this was written for both women and men, with the expectation that it would run in the mid-evenings on national television. So what was the moral tale? This movie, like most movies in this era, did have an underlying moral tale, which was very subtle. Not one word was preached at the viewers. No group or subgroup was shamed by modern sanctimonious scriptwriters. The morality in the script was woven into the story and gave it depth and purpose. It was a story about corruption all dressed up in suits and ties and what can happen when people try to do the right thing in a system of corruption. All human hearts cry out for justice, even little children. So it was a moral tale for any person, religious or otherwise. There was also a turn in the plot, which I won't give away, where someone makes a decision out of anger to seek revenge, which doesn't turn out well for anyone. Fortunately, his character arc continues, and there is a change of heart, and he turns from revenge back to seeking justice. Now, who would I recommend this movie to? I would recommend this movie to people who like suspense. I normally shy away from suspense movies, as modern day suspense films go so far over the top, with Tom Cruise jumping from one building to another, or 007 having a fist fight while on a moving crane high above a construction site. It's too much for me. I meet my anxiety quota just living in today's world. But like I said earlier, this movie was cited in a YouTube video I watched on Secret Society, so I chose to watch it for that reason. It had the perfect amount of suspense and won't cause anyone to have an anxiety attack. If you are a new author who is interested in writing about secret societies or conspiracies, this is a good reference movie, and the plot is simple enough where you can easily take it apart, look under the hood, reverse engineer it to learn techniques for writing similar stories. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the movie review. And if you did, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. The link for the Brotherhood of the Bell is posted below. And if you watch it and have any insights yourself, please feel free to post them below. And here also is a panel of all of my fiction books that are available on Amazon.com. Most of them are presently in Kindle Unlimited. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.